Welcome to this session on the new rules of origin post a Brexit transition. My name's Dean Wootton. Now in this lecture I'm just going to look at whether we actually have got duty-free trading with the EU when it comes to goods. So let's look at a UK business moving goods into the EU. Will there really be 0% duty when those goods hit the EU border? Now whether it does or doesn't get that 0% rate depends on whether the goods are of UK origin. Very important this. And the rules are quite complex as to how we establish origin of the goods. There's two ways that you could have originating products. Now the first is the products are wholly obtained, and that could be livestock, for example, born in the UK, reared in the UK, and so on. They are wholly obtained, and when they move into Europe they should be duty-free because they are wholly obtained in the UK. Now sometimes your clients might import raw materials, say, into the UK and then incorporate them into products they're making, and those products they then move into the EU. Now there are ways of getting those products as UK originating, and there's three ways we could do that. There's value added, there's a change of tariff classification, or there's manufacture from certain products or through certain processes. Now each product will have its own harmonisation code, the HS code, and the HMRC website takes you through how you get an HS code, but every single product throughout Europe has an HS code, and you need to get that. So you get that, and then you go to Annex ORIG, Origin 2, of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement. So that's what we use now to establish origin when moving goods into the EU and vice versa. Now each product will tell you what a method you should be using. So it might be that you have to, this particular product, you have to have a change of tariff classification. So if the trade classification stays the same, then you wouldn't have met the substantially transformed, and therefore it wouldn't be of UK origin. Now they are quite complex, those rules. We're going to look at an outline of it to give you a flavour of how you do it. But it's important that the 0% tariff is only there if the goods are of UK origin. How we establish origin, tricky, but we're going to have a quick look at that. Now let's have a look at something which is not going to get UK origin, and that's when you're importing goods from a non-EU country into the UK, but you're not doing much with them. They're simply imported and then exported. Now when we import them, they'll be duty payable. Whoever's the importer of record will have to sort that out. So let's assume it's the UK company disclosed as the importer of record, so they would be accounting for the duty. They'd put the VAT on their VAT return under postponed accounting, but the duty will be payable in the normal way. Those goods are then not processed and things like that. They're simply moved on into the EU. Now those goods would not be of UK origin. They've simply been imported and then exported. And duty would be payable going into the EU. So you have this double duty type situation. And that's going to catch quite a few transactions by surprise. And so therefore we haven't necessarily got a duty-free deal with the EU. The goods have to be of UK origin. Now there is a very important concept called bilateral cumulation. Now under bilateral cumulation, EU materials used in UK production can be regarded as having UK origin and vice versa. So if an EU product is incorporated in the production of a further product in the UK, by way of bilateral cumulation, the product is deemed to have UK origin status. So when the finished product goes back into the EU, then it's regarded as having UK origin, and we should then have duty-free trading for that particular product. Let's look at an example, and we use chopped tomatoes for that example. Now, chopped tomatoes have a code, an HS code, a harmonisation code of 2002.90. and you can get that from the HMRC website. So it's very important that you know the code for your particular product. Now, if we look in the origin annex of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, then the codes are listed and the rules for that particular code are given. So we would need to go to chapter 20. That's what the first 2 digits of the code mean. So we're in chapter 20, and that's preparation of vegetables, fruits, etc. And we're looking for the code that corresponds with our particular product. Now in chapter 20, and I put the actual rule in red, so therefore the chopped tomatoes fall within the second group of this chapter. And that's production in which all the materials of chapter 7, which is raw vegetables, etc., must be wholly obtained. Now, the tomatoes are generally going to come in from the EU, Spain, for example. But if we use bilateral cumulation, we can pretend the goods are of UK origin if we were then to export them back into Europe. So let's see how that works. So let's say the tomatoes do come from Spain and they come into the UK. Now there'll be no duty because the tomatoes are originating in Spain. So there's no duty coming into the UK on those tomatoes. Now those tomatoes are chopped, cooked and canned in the UK. Now that would be sufficiently processed to meet the rules of bilateral cumulation. Now we end up with these chopped tomatoes in cans, which are then moved into the EU. Now those chopped tomatoes can be regarded as UK originating, i.e. wholly obtained, because of bilateral cumulation. You've done enough to them in the UK to have them sufficiently processed. So there's no duty payable on those canned tomatoes going back into Europe. Now let's see where it doesn't apply. Now bilateral cumulation will not apply if the EU product is only subject to simple operations. And within the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, they list tons of simple operations. So we don't want to fall within there, because if we do, then we're not doing enough to the goods. So in this instance, the final product is not regarding as UK originating, but we might still be able to qualify if we met a product-specific rule. So we can't say, because there's 2 criteria, wasn't there? There's one where it's wholly originating, or wholly obtained is the actual phrase, which it wouldn't be, because the goods are coming from Europe. But then there's the other way. Is there a change of trade classification or tariff classification that could help us? But the product that you've got, there'll be a particular rule for that particular product that we'd have to meet. And I'll give an example of around that area. Now you may have well read in the national press the concern around Percy pigs and Marks and Spencers. Now Percy pigs are made in Germany and they're just imported into the UK. Now, there's no duty on that movement because they originate from Germany into the UK. But all they do in the UK is just move them on. So just simple operations. Now, as they're simple operations, you can't regard the Percy pigs on export as originating in the UK. So unfortunately, you're exposed to duty when those Percy pigs go back out into the EU. As hopefully getting a feeling for what these 0% trading rules are. You've got to have UK originating goods when they move from the UK into the EU. The Percy pigs, because they're not sufficiently processed, etc., in the UK, they can't benefit from bilateral cumulation. As they don't benefit from that, they are not deemed to be of UK origin. Now, how do we claim preferential treatment? So we don't automatically have this 0% trading with the EU. We've got to claim it. Now, you claim preference on the customs declaration, and you generally get your freight agents to do that. Now, you'd have to have proof that you meet the origin rules. Now, it's okay if you're sourcing goods in the UK, manufacturing them in the UK, and then moving them into Europe, because that's fairly straightforward. Now, the proof could either be provided on a document or maybe knowledge. So it could be provided on an invoice, for example. So proof must be given to the freight agent to tell them the origin of these goods. And it's the importer of record that has that responsibility, because they're the ones that are dealing with the customs declarations in Germany, say, or wherever the goods are going. So it's their responsibility. So if I'm a UK exporter and my customer's in Germany, say, and my customer's the importer of record, then I'll need to provide my customer with proof of UK origin. And that would probably be on the invoice that I'm giving them. So yes, these goods have been sourced in the UK, manufactured in the UK, they are of UK origin. And therefore my German customer, for argument's sake, they know then that the goods are of UK origin and there'll be 0% tariff going into Germany. With the Percy Pigs example, then obviously the UK, I think it was M&S, wasn't it? They were moving the Percy Pigs from the UK into Ireland, I think they said. Now they can't give a UK origin status to those Percy Pigs because they weren't made in the UK. So therefore there'd be duty going into Ireland, say, on those. So let's just round this up. So the rules of origin must be addressed to benefit from tariff-free trading. Yes, we have the possibility of getting 0% duty when we go in and out of Europe, but you have to claim it. And you're claiming it by meeting the rules of origin. Now, as I said, UK source goods should be fine when exporting into the EU, and vice versa. Now, businesses that simply import and export without processing or sufficient processing, the goods will have to rely on other custom procedure to avoid double duty. So you're not going to get it as UK originating goods. So, for example, I might have to rely on return goods relief. So if goods were to go from Germany to the UK onto the EU without too much being done in the UK, then you could get out of duty when they go back into the EU by adopting returned goods relief. But that is different. That's a procedure. That's a customs procedure. You could adopt temporary admission or customs warehousing. If you were going non-EU into the UK, not a lot being done with them in the UK, and then on into Europe. You can't say those goods are of UK origin because they're not. But I might be able to avoid duty, or the importer of record might be able to, by way of temporary admission or customs warehousing. If clients import from non-EU, process the goods, and then export into the EU, then you're going to have to consider the product-specific rule to determine if those goods are of UK origin. And this could be the goods have got a change in trade classification, for example. And if that's what the rule is for your particular product, if you import them under one code and you do enough to those goods to mean they've got another code going out, and all the rule says for that particular product is you've got to change the tariff classification, then you could meet the product-specific rule of origin. So there's lots of complications with this. It's not just simply anything moving in and out of Europe from the UK is going to be 0% duty. Not necessarily. There are quite complex rules. Well, hopefully that's given you an idea what these rules are about. Any questions on this, then do contact me via my website. My name's Dean Wootton.